Hello everyone and welcome back to the Speed Chess Championship Finals. We said that we were going to cover at least one more game, and a lot of you said that you guys would want to see a game where Maxime won one game. Now, I'm not saying this is such a game, but I'm also not saying it's not. So without further ado, let's check it out. As the title suggests, it doesn't get any better than this in such a short time format. So Hikaru with the white pieces opens with knight to f3. And some of you are maybe wondering, but how is it even possible that they would be able to play such a game, let's say 30-40 moves with 1 minute on the clock, also with a 1 second increment, and play such perfect moves? Well, this game, in fact, it's for the first 15 moves, basically it's theory. So it's moves that have already been played before, and both of them know it. So for the first, let's say, 15 moves, they are only gaining time, not actually losing time. But we're gonna get back to that. So Hikaru opens with knight to f3, the Reti opening, and here c5. Sort of inviting white to shift to a Sicilian defense if white not there, but if white goes e4, we kind of shift back to the Sicilian. But here just b3, Hikaru not interested in playing the Sicilian. We have knight to f6 and now bishop to b2, fianchettoing the bishop to this beautiful diagonal. We have e6, preparing to grab more space in the center with d5, and e3. By Hikaru, we have bishop to e7 and now d4, striking in the center, and b6. Maxime also wants to get his light square bishop to this diagonal. Bishop to d3 and now bishop to b7. And here Hikaru castles. And finally d5. So the setup has been completed. Knight b to d2. Both players have to continue development. Knight b to d7 and c4 now. And this has all been played before, so there is absolutely nothing new here. Plenty of games in the database where this has been played, and of course both Hikaru and Maxime know this. So here we have castles by Maxime and queen to e2 now, developing the queen, connecting rooks, and here we have the first capture of the game. C captures on d4, knight captures on d4, and now the c5 square has been vacated for the black knight, and here knight to c5, attacking the bishop here. So bishop back to c2. Hikaru, of course, wants to keep his bishop pair as it's so very nicely slicing over to the king side. And now d captures on c4. We have knight captures and the queen to d5. So up until this point, this is all known, and both players, I imagine, do know them or know it, or maybe they just played the absolute best. Without knowing the previously established theory. But okay, here now we have this queen bishop battery threatening queen captures on g2 checkmate, and of course Hikaru defends this with f3. And here there are a couple of games in the database that reached this exact same position. Most notable one is Kramnik versus Ryazantsev, where bishop to a6 was played, and the Kramnik was able to win that game with the white pieces. But here we have rook f to d8, which is one of the top engine moves, so I imagine Maxime was very well prepared for this. So here, and of course as of move 14, we have a completely new game. So rook f to d1, Hikaru also brings the rook into the game, and now comes queen back to h5. You don't want your queen aligned with the rook here, and also since the f3 pawn has been played, this queen bishop battery isn't doing all that much. So queen back to h5, and now well, you could finish development with rook to c1. Hikaru first kicks the knight away. There aren't all that many great squares for this knight, so he shifts it over back to d7. We have a3 now, adding more defense to the b4 pawn, and now rook a to c8. Black pretty much finishes development, and now white doesn't want this bishop to be on c2, could be a problem in the future, so he shifts it to b3. And now we could have some action happening here on e6, so you have to be careful. So bishop to d5, now putting pressure on the knight here, and rook a to c1. We could say that white also finished his development with this move. So knight to f8, Maxime prepares to shift the knight over to g6, also adds more defense to the e6 pawn, and here e4, challenging that bishop. We have bishop back to b7, and now comes knight to e5, and this is a very sneaky idea by Hikaru. Hikaru's point is that, well, if queen captures, then we get something very nice here. If queen captures, knight to f5 is just awesome for white, because the bishop on e7 is under attack, and also the queen on e5 is under attack. And even if we trade everything with tempo, so rook captures on d1 with check, queen captures, rook captures on d1 with check, we don't capture with the queen, but first a nice in-between move, a nice Zwischenzug, knight captures on e7 with check, king h8, and only then we recapture. So we either capture here and leave the queens on the board, or we could go straight for the endgame with captures. Captures with check and bishop capture. So now, same amount of pawns, same amount of pieces. However, white does have the bishop pair, and in an open game with pawns on both sides of the board, the bishop pair will be stronger. So this is what Hikaru had in mind, but Maxime had something else in mind, and it's a beautiful idea, the absolute best. So I imagine this was also somewhere, you know, in MVL's notes. So feel free to pause the video and find the absolute best move for black here while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this bishop to d6 idea. But not bishop to d6 just yet. First we have to trade rooks. Rook captures on c1, rook captures on c1, and only now bishop to d6. And now there's a big problem for white, because the knight is hanging and you cannot move the knight. If you move the knight, then queen captures on h2 is happening. So you have to play something else. Now there are two choices here. Basically you go for f4 and then you play this terrible endgame after captures, and the knight captures on e4. Black just grabs a pawn, and white will simply struggle, and it's a bad endgame for white. So instead, Hikaru tried to hold on to everything. He played knight d to c6. Now the two knights are defending each other, but Maxime just plays bishop captures on c6, and this is the absolute correct move, because again, if knight captures, then again we have some action here, and it's not much better if you capture with the rook than just bishop captures here, and it's a problem. Bishop captures on e5, queen captures on e5, and well, you're just down too much material. So here Hikaru first played the g4, attacks Maxime's queen, and now you don't have to worry about this queen captures on h2, but here Maxime plays again a beautiful bishop to b5 move, now getting his bishop away from the c6 square where it was a target. And now the whole point of this is that well, you either again trade queens and play a worse endgame after captures and captures, or you play queen captures on b5, and this is exactly what Maxime wanted. But now the queen on b5, very important, is on a terrible square because the queen is undefended. So here queen to h6, and now there are simply too many threats here. Queen to e3 check will be a terrible threat. Later you can capture the knight, bring the rook into the game, and very quickly checkmate the white king. So Hikaru has to defend against this. He played rook to e1, but it's not much better. Knight to g6 brings yet another attacker to the e5 square, and again this knight can never move. So rook to e2 was played. Finally the h2 pawn is defended, but now it is far too late for such things. Bishop captures on e5 is played, and there's nothing to be done here. We have bishop captures on e5, and now the whole point of queen being undefended on b5, queen to g5, and it was in this position on move 28 that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. There's a double attack on the bishop. You cannot defend the bishop any more times, and if the bishop moves, of course, just queen captures queen. So this is one very rare occasion where a bullet game is played to such perfection, as like it was pretty much 15 moves of pure theory, and then Maxime showed that he had a much better preparation in this line, and we just had this incredibly high quality game for such a short time format. But yeah, this is one of the games that Maxime won in the bullet section, but then after Hikaru got his streak, like we said, 7.5 points out of 8, it was just a massacre. But yeah, amazing game by Maxime. So I do hope you guys enjoyed it, as you requested one of the games that Maxime won, and I thought this was the nicest one. It's just you know, very, very enjoyable to watch such you know, brilliant play. But yeah, once again, I do hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Thomas Keller, Matthew Tobit, Yash Kamath, Petr Maziorak, and Bradley Cascio for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Morphe saga, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. Also, the Russian Championship is happening, so we might check out some of the games from there. If you have any of yours favorite, do use hashtag suggestion. So, thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent start of your week.